What is going on, guys? Greetings of peace and blessings. So on June 18, 2017, at Finsbury Park, there was an attack at a mosque. It was by a guy by the name of Darren Osborne, and I'm gonna read a little snippet from The Guardian. It's by a writer named Stephen Morris, and he writes, and I'm quoting him: "The Muslim next door neighbors of Osborne alleged he had racially abused their son at the weekend." Okay, and then it goes on to say, and it's quoting someone, and they said, but her son Nadine 12 said, "I was on my bike and he just came up to me and said, 'inbred, just out here on the road.' It was a normal voice. He just said it." And his sister Nadia 10, um, she also heard what Osborne said. "Me and my Nan were sat on the deck. She was putting the washing out. All of a sudden, we heard him say 'inbred.'" Okay, so we hear this Osborne guy who did a terrorist attack. Doesn't matter what someone's race is, religion is, gender is. At the end of the day, you have to always side with the oppressed and never the oppressors, regardless of race, religion, gender, ethnicity, and etc. But back to what we were saying. Now, he called them inbred, and there are two channels on YouTube that are pushing this conspiracy theory, and they claim the reason they're claiming Muslims are terrorists, and one of the reasons that these disgusting disinfo channels, these Zionist channels, Islamophobic channels, hate preaching channels, and again, these are by channels by Christians and Jews who are right wingers who spew out this propaganda, and some of them are right wing atheists too. But anyway, um, they came out with this conspiracy theory claiming, oh, Muslims are inbred and that's why they do all these attacks and stuff. And the two channels are Alex Jones. Again, this guy lies about Islam all the time. Alex Jones said the Quran says that black people don't have souls, and this is a lie. And so we already know Alex Jones is a liar, and we see him get exposed every single week. He even tried attacking the CEO of Chobani, who's Muslim, and he made up a lie, and then he had to retract the statement because Alex Jones is a coward and a liar. And then you have rebel media. They're always going out and spewing out false propaganda and stuff, and they're Islamophobic. And there's also another channel, Fox News. They covertly do racist and hateful stuff. Sometimes they do it overtly, and sometimes they do it covertly, and I'll put a link to that. And then you have this idiot by the name of Tommy Robinson. Again, he's a hate preacher. What Tommy Robinson does is, actually, I'm not even going to show you guys what he does. I'm just going to put a link of the video of him talking after this attack, and then Tommy Robinson says, "I'm not justifying it," and then he goes on to say, "but," and then he talks about, "oh, well, people are getting fed up with Muslims doing this, blah 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 blah." Now, can you imagine if the roles were reversed and someone and a Muslim said, "I'm not justifying it, but X amount of people are being killed in that country or this country, or being bombed in this country and that country"? Can you imagine what Tommy Robinson would say? So again, this man is a hypocrite and he's an idiot. And then we see the media's response. Again, a few months back, there was an attack in Quebec by a Trump supporter, a Marine Le Pen supporter, and a white supremacist who went in and he attacked a mosque in Quebec and killed people. And people on the media thought it was a Muslim on Muslim crime, even though the guy was a non-Muslim. At first, that's what they thought because there was this story going around, the man yelled Allahu Akbar or something. This turned out to be a lie, and the right-wing media, they hushed out and they barely reported the story, and some of them didn't even report the story at all. And we see with this attack too, you go down to the comment sections of CNN or Fox News or all these BBC and stuff, and you see white supremacists trying to justify this and stuff. And these are the same people who are claiming there's a white genocide and all this other nonsense and baloney. Again, these people are just mad, and the reason some of them don't have spouses is because look at these people. Look at their rhetoric. They're disgusting. But no sane woman would want to be with these white supremacists. They're racist. They're hateful people. They're disgusting. But here I'm gonna play a clip of this guy from BBC, and then I'm gonna comment on what he said.
Three guys were in the van, and literally an old man came off the from the masjid and was walking down, and he literally collapsed on the pavement, and all the people gathered around him to give him CPR or to check him out, and then they was asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And it was like 6 people, 8 people on top of him, tried to help him out, and the van literally turned left with no indication, with no even, like, sadly, just deliberately left, and they just shot the people. And one of them, he was under the van. People were gathered around the van to actually lift the van up to get this guy out the van, from under the van. So the guy jumped off the van, one of them, and two literally ran, because there were a lot of people coming out still. But as soon as that happened, they start shouting, and all the people are actually gathered around. So the two, they ran. One of them got arrested. The people have surrounded him there, abandoned him, and then he was shouting, "We're all Muslims, I want to kill all Muslims." Literally, he said that, word by word. He said it like this. And then I'm sure, guys, this is terrorist attack. Whether he's a Muslim, whether he's a Christian, this is a terrorist attack. Tomorrow, I don't want to see it saying, "Oh, he's got mental issues." This is not acceptable. Otherwise, all that terrorists who done, they got mental issues. He's categorized as a terrorist, whether he's a Christian or Muslim. There's no religion belongs to terrorism. Terrorism has no religion. All of them are terrorists who don't actually hurt or harm or kill people.
So again, what this young individual was trying to say is, every time, I'm going to expand on it, because every time here in America anyway, a Hispanic person does something, you see these right-wing Christian channels, they come out, or right-wing atheist channels, or both of them, they're merged, the unholy alliance of the alt-right and the Christian right. They come in and on all these other conservative channels, they come in and what they do is they'll start talking about illegal immigrations and building the wall and all this other stuff. And then if it's an African American, you'll have them coming out and talking about black on black crime, white on black crime, white on white crime, and white on black, and all these other crime statistics. And you had their doofus leader, Donald Trump. Again, he quoted fake statistics from white supremacists that lied about black on black crime and white on black crime and etc. So they covertly do racist stuff. And then when it's a Muslim individual or someone who claims to be Muslim, they'll go in and they'll start talking about, they'll start pushing this false narrative of the war on terror, and then the military-industrial complex gets all excited, and then the media pushes out their agenda, and then you have all the alt-right YouTube channels and stuff, they come out, and this is when they get their most views, and they do their bashing, and they think they're experts. See, after September 11th, the next day or even the same day, all these people who've never even heard of Islam came out and claimed to be experts. Again, these guys are idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. And I'm going to go to what Jeremy Corbyn said. Again, they were mad. These right-wingers were mad when Jeremy Corbyn won. And they also lost their cool when Marine Le Pen lost the French election. So they're getting mad. And then you see with their boy Trump and his rhetoric, you see these people getting excited. And one more thing, you see how they try to twist the story, and they're like, "Oh, you go to the history of the mosque, they had this hate preacher, blah 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 blah." Well, can you imagine if somebody twists that story? Who was that senator that got shot at at baseball practice? Steve Scalia. Okay, let's see how easy it is to twist stories, and how you can politicize any story. Now, this man went and spoke at white supremacist conference, and guess what? A black officer saved his life. So that Republican who was a racist and a white supremacist, he went and spoke at those organizations. He can claim he's not a racist, but he definitely spoke at the white supremacist organization. One of the speakers, or one of the people even attending that, was David Duke. And this man, his life was saved by a black person. Now you see how easily people can spin stories and politicize it. And even right now, you have people like Tommy Robinson trying to do that, and they're failing miserably. It just looks bad. But anyway, you even had Jeremy Corbyn tweet out at Emily Thornberry and who else? At David Lammy, and I spoke with Finsbury Mosque's congregation and how we'll get through this difficult time together. So again, you see somebody reaching out, you see a community coming together, and remember, you always have to side with the oppressed and not the oppressors, regardless of race, religion, gender, ethnicity, and etc. But I'm gonna play one more clip from the media, and then I'm going to comment on that.
Well, we're now joined by professional boxer Amir Khan and the founder of British Muslim Youth, Mubin Hussain. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Amir, we spoke to you just a couple of weeks ago after one of the 3 major terror attacks by Islamist terrorists. You said then that you feared, when you were walking around, that there may be reprisal attacks on Muslims. It would appear that in the early hours of this morning, that is exactly what has happened. What's your reaction?
You know, I did say a couple of weeks ago when we were speaking that people want, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back in a way where people want revenge and they're gonna kill innocent people, and that could be me one day walking my daughter down the street and someone comes with a car and runs me over because I'm a Muslim. You know, so I just think that we're all living through a very tough time at the moment, and we all just have to stick together because this is only gonna get worse if people are thinking like that.
Absolutely right. Mubin Hussain, we were just mentioning the Finsbury Park Mosque. I mean, when people hear the name of the mosque, they'll remember it, and probably, you know, for many of us not in the Muslim community, not in the right way. But it has, I understand, been the forefront of community relations counter-extremism.
I think what we have to clarify is, was this actually the Finsbury Park Mosque where the attack happened? And all the reports that I've seen, it wasn't actually Finsbury Park Mosque.
It was a few hundred yards away,
It was the Muslim Welfare House. And we have to clarify that, and I think it's important that we look at that and we don't just link it to another mosque that was there. In fact, if you look at even Finsbury Park Mosque, Abu Hamza was actually kicked out of the mosque.
Right.
And you have to rectify
No, I think you're right. And I think the key point here, this was a deliberate attack, a terrorist attack on Muslims, right? I think it doesn't really matter whether they were from Finsbury Park Mosque or this Welfare Centre. This is a deliberate attack on Muslims as they've come out of their prayers during Ramadan. And it's the kind of thing that Amir was talking about, that he was concerned about. And to my mind, you know, we've put a lot of pressure on the Muslim communities to root out extremists in their midst. I want to find out who this white extremist is who did this, find out why nobody shopped him to the police. And I also want to know what we're going to do about all this hateful stuff you see on the internet, urging other white extremists to take action against Muslims. Most of the people who've been injured today are British Muslims. The fact they're Muslims is irrelevant, but they've been targeted because they're Muslims.
100%, and I have to agree with that, because they are Muslims and they were coming out of a mosque and it was near a mosque. I think that's one of the reasons why this person did that.
This just happened at the end of a weekend commemorating the terrorist murder of MP Joe Cox, when there was this huge, great get-together. We were talking about we've got more in common. People will feel despair this morning. But that's so important, isn't it, that we don't let these attacks divide us, even though that might be how people feel, divided?
I think we saw hundreds and thousands of people across the country come together, you know, whether it was in remembering Joe Cox, whether it was remembering in Grenfell Tower. We didn't see authorities. I was there. I've seen ordinary people come together. And we're not going to allow one lone nutter to come and divide us on that and take away all that actions. I think that is quite important. I think we have to understand that they are trying to divide people, but the overwhelming people are just coming together. We saw that. We saw that after Manchester, when Muslim taxi drivers and ordinary people got people to safety. And I seen that. I was there at the, at Finsbury Park. I went there. I saw ordinary people, and there was frustration, there was anger, there was people that were really emotional because they've seen the incident in place.
Again, throughout the West, as in specifically in America and Europe, you see, again, I'm not talking about all white people because there's good white people. I'm talking about white supremacists, these devils. They're coming out and they're angry and they keep saying civil war, race war, time to get all these kebabs or whatever rhetoric they use, and then they'll say the religion of peace strikes again. Now, can you imagine if somebody commented in a comment section and said the race of peace strikes again, or the nation of peace, or if something else? But back to what I was saying, these white supremacists, they were trying to justify this. They were saying they weren't justifying it, and then they would say but, and then they would give examples. Now, can you imagine if something like this terrorist attack happened at a church, which would be disgusting, and people, and let's just say people come out and they don't like, it's a different sect of Christianity, and they don't like that church, so they come out and say, well, there was a pedophile priest at that church. And then they start trying to justify it too and stuff. Again, the stupidity. I'm gonna end it there, but remember, we see these hateful people, and we also saw in the Greenfield Tower fire in London a week ago. You saw Muslims coming out and helping people, and you also saw non-Muslims coming out and helping people too. And then you saw right-wingers like the EDL again. These disgusting people, they went out and instead of helping people, they're making videos, and I'll leave a link to that video too. But again, guys, remember, these right-wing channels, these hate-preaching Christian channels, again, I'm not talking about all of them, I'm talking about the hate-preaching channels, the Zionist channels, and the Islamophobic channels. What they do is, this is their strategies. They politicize events, they do selective journalism, they'll report certain stories and they won't report certain stories. They do propaganda. They do fake news. They flat out lie. Again, guys, just look at their channels, look at their rhetoric. When it's truth versus falsehood, by its nature, falsehood is bound to perish. Peace.